property market will boom in 2022. My name's Adam Panisi. I'm doing a couple of $100 million of my own property development deals, and the point of this video is to help you get into property, do some of the strategies that I'm teaching, and make a whole lot of money that can change your life. Now, the property market will boom in 2022. I'm seeing the headlines, they're all over the place. Some people are saying it's going to boom, other people are saying it's going to bust. The debt levels are increasing, both personal, government. You've got the stuff happening over in China with Evergrande. So what is actually going to happen in 22? This is my crystal ball, being in the industry for 11 years. I've never seen a market like this. All of my mentors who have been in the industry for 30, 40 years have never been in a market quite the same as what we're experiencing now. So it is a little bit tricky to try and siphon through what is actually going on in 2022. Now, behind the scenes, the general person doesn't know if you're not in the industry on the ground. Sales, and I'll refer specifically to Queensland sales. Queensland sales in regional areas around southeast Queensland have softened a little bit. Brisbane market, everything on the ground is still going gangbusters. Now, I'll refer to the capital cities only. I won't talk about regionals. Some regional places will do really well, others will suffer a little bit. I'll refer to Brisbane in particular. My crystal ball is that Brisbane this year will boom. It will absolutely surpass the growth that it had for last year. Now, that's across the board. So what that means is some properties are going to stay flat. It happens in every boom market. You're going to have properties that aren't going to perform very well. And then you're going to have properties that are going to do 50% growth in the next 12 months. It's already happened in other locations. It hasn't really happened in Brisbane thus far in most areas. But be prepared for 2022. Brisbane is going to go ballistic. Now, all those guys interstate, if you're looking at buying in Brisbane, make sure you be familiar or become familiar with the area. It is very different to investing in Sydney and Melbourne. Our demographics are so much different than the southern states. Our housing is different. Our costs are a little bit different as well if you're looking at developing or renovating. So make sure you get familiar on the ground with particular areas, suburbs, and buy in an area where it's going to be, well, where it is currently good value based on the rest of the market, but then it's also got that growth potential as well. Now, 2022, building prices are set to increase even more, so that's going to put pressure on the end product. For developers like myself, our baseline of costs to deliver something, to deliver a residential property and commercial as well, our baseline cost to deliver a property is going to increase. Now, 2021, it increased by about 20 to 30% across the board. So the same property that you would have built in 2020, in 2021, that property is an extra 20 to 30% more expensive. Now, I'm talking about the construction costs. When construction costs increase like that, it puts massive pressure on the end sale. If developers have increasing costs, it means we've got to try and recoup those on the back end. So we can't experience 20% cost increase on building without passing that on to the consumer at the end. Otherwise, we're not going to do the project. It's not going to be feasible. One, we're not going to get bank finance. The bank's not going to lend us the money, and most developers need some sort of finance. And then second of all, why would a developer do a project only to make no money or very little money? There's not a lot of guys that will do that. There are people that will, but there's not a huge amount of guys that at least want to do it for fun. So that's going to put more pressure on the end value of the property. Now, building construction costs going up means that a lot of developers will get balked or will balk at that. So it means they won't actually complete in 2022. They're going to wait for the market to cool in 23. And I believe that it will. Both building prices and the actual heat of the market will cool a little bit in 23 overall. Now, what that means for the guys, or what that means for stock on the ground and the guys developing in 22, if you've got fresh stock and it's completed, people are going to pay you a premium for that because there's nothing else available. Now, I am being general. So this does, you need to apply this to the particular suburb or area that you're looking at. There are areas that will go into oversupply. If you've got 1,000 or 2,000 units in an area, that's not going to take all of those up in one go, as in it takes time for that product to enter the market and then people to obviously buy it and then move in, then those markets are going to stay a bit soft. If you've got a market with high demand and there's very little construction happening, and keep in mind construction of a dwelling, even just a single house, can take somewhere between 4 to 6 months, especially in the current market. If somebody's delivering, say, 1,000 units in a couple of buildings, that's a 2-year construction project. So you can see the writing in the walls. If you've got 5 buildings that are under construction and they've got 18 months left to run, what's going to happen in 18 months? Prices might be booming now because of limited stock on the market, but what about in 18 months when all this stock hits the market? So keep that in mind. If you're in for the short term, then maybe you want to get into those areas where prices are going to go through the roof and then they're going to stagnate because of the oversupply in the next couple of years. Or if you're in it for the long haul, look for areas that are not going to be in oversupply, not only for the next couple of years, but then beyond. And good product and good property development in areas actually increases the value of properties. I'm sure you've seen areas that have gone through transitions. When a builder or a developer delivers a whole lot of new product, it raises, as long as it's good product and not housing commission, it generally raises the value of the surrounding area, provided that it doesn't oversupply the market. Now, there will be areas that will go through the roof in Brisbane in 2022, Sydney, Melbourne. There'll be areas that'll do well. Across the board, it's going to be a little bit hit and miss in those areas. Sydney and Melbourne are in oversupply from the statistics that I've seen in certain pockets. They've had massive growth increases, both cities. And then also, in addition to that, you've got the affordability crisis. People not being able to afford, a couple of $1 million for a basic house. Whereas you come to Queensland, Brisbane, you can still buy a house relatively close to the city for, under $1 million. You don't get a huge amount of house, but you get a house, you get a block of land. It's a lot more affordable in Brisbane. Perth is very similar, although Perth rides on or off the back of, mining employment. So there's a huge undersupply in Perth. Same sort of thing. You just need to look out where the supply to the market is coming, and will that impact prices positively in the short term, but then long term, how is that going to impact the supply? And Perth also goes through massive up and down cycles. It's one of the markets that I've been monitoring. I've never invested in there just because it's so far away from Queensland where I live. And I don't feel like making a 6-hour trip every time I want to look at a property that I'm developing or purchasing. But I've seen guys develop there, invest in property there, who've made a lot of money. I've seen guys lose a lot of money. It's very cyclical in that it has very short cycles. So Perth will experience some growth this year. Rental prices are huge over there. So, if you're getting good return, you've just got to keep in mind that Perth goes up and down very quickly, and the market can turn on you. So if you are doing a bigger development in Perth, you've obviously got to time the market very well. Whereas Queensland, Brisbane, we will stay strong for the next 12 months, maybe a bit of flat line in 2023, and then we'll still be in undersupply for at least the next couple of years after that. Now, some of our properties that we're developing, and they're reasonably substantial, a few hundred lots at a time, they're on the outskirts of Brisbane in massively undersupplied areas. And the reason being is that council restricted development in their entire council, consisting of 500,000 people. They've highly restricted development over the last 10 years, and it's created a huge undersupply in properties or in residential housing, which has now put pressure on pricing, especially in some defined pockets. So that's what we're developing. We're not doing inner city. People are chasing more land. They want to be in a house. And that's where, for detached dwellings, they're going to get a massive price increase year on year, I believe, for the next 4 to 5 years. units are going to go up for the next couple of years only because of the pricing disparity between houses and units. So there's going to be a lot of buyers that wanted to buy houses but now are being forced to buy units. So that's going to put price pressure on units themselves only because of affordability, whereas houses, and for those guys that can afford houses, they are going to increase even more so. So detached houses I'm speaking about, either inner city or on the outskirts where people want some sort of land, they want to be away from people, and also the working from home movement looks to be around for a little bit longer, I think. So hopefully you've enjoyed that and you've gotten a lot of value out of my prediction for 2022 and what you can expect, not only for Brisbane and Queensland, but also for the rest of Australia. Thanks guys, would love to see you on the next video. Follow us for more. I do a whole lot of free videos and give away a lot of value. If there's something in particular you want me to cover, please let me know.